Evening. How are you doing today? Welcome to my live session on mindset, which I've been doing every day for quite some time now. And let me start by explaining what mindset is all about. It's about the way we are perceiving the reality, the way we are thinking, connecting the dots for establishing the cause and effect, the way we are deciding either by the gut or by assessing the benefits and effort, and finally, the way we are acting or responding with conviction and consistency. That's what mindset is all about. Mindset is basically formed based on our past emotional experiences, emotional memories. I say emotion because always the emotion is linked to some event and some experience, some memory. Stronger the emotion, stronger the impact of that on the mindset. Weaker the emotion, weaker the experience, weaker is the impact on the mindset. And based on these memories and experiences, a framework is what is defined in our subconscious mind. And this framework is nothing other than mindset. And based on this framework, predictions are done by the subconscious mind in real time basis. I mean, real time basis, not for the next 1 year or 1 month or whatever, for the next immediate moment. And these predictions are done in real time basis. And based on these predictions, we perceive, think, decide, act, or respond. That's what mindset is all about. If we have to really achieve something significant, something uh, phenomenal in our lives, and we want to change and then create our own future, our own destiny, then it's important for us to change the mindset. And my talk every day has been on mindset and what can be done to change the mindset, why mindset, etc. That's the main topic which I've been talking about every day. Today also it'll be the same topic, but before I continue, let me remind you of the small exercise, a baby step exercise, which I asked you to do, to talk to your friends, neighbors, relatives, or colleagues on their perceptions of people to people interactions and what you believe or assume their perceptions would be. Find out the commonalities and the differences and start a dialogue to establish a common collective mindset. That's the baby step to understanding what mindset is. Because once we understand what mindset is, then the whole perspective of life changes. And it's happened to me. Once you understand what mindset is, the whole perspective of life changes, is what I said. I repeated that once again because that's the key. And once the perspective changes, you have a lot of tranquility and peace within yourself. You can sleep better. You have a better health. A lot of things change because there are no conflicts within the mind, because you are going to be doing whatever that you wanted to do. Of course, affirmations are one thing which is necessary. It's important that we do positive affirmations. Just affirmation will not really help us much, because apart from the affirmation, it's important to link that to emotion. One way of doing it is, whenever you do an affirmation, you try to imagine, visualize a situation and that affirmation has come true, and what are your emotions going to be. And that's something which you need to recognize it positively, recognize it distinctly within your mind when you think of that. And that consistently being done will create an emotion as if it occurred, and that gets transferred to your subconscious mind, and then the mindset change accordingly, so that the behavior changes in accordance to you realizing those affirmations, and therefore the affirmations come true. And that's important to note, that just by affirming it really doesn't matter, nothing much happens. It's important to link that to some emotion, to really think of an emotion and feel the emotion, what you would be experiencing moment these affirmations are realized. And that's something which is my learning, my understanding, my enlightenment. So I share that. And for those of you who are interested, please use that and make a difference in your lives and also in the lives of others by talking about mindset, by explaining what mindset is, which is what drives our perception, thinking, deciding, and acting. So let me talk about why mindset is important. Why is it that we need to change mindset? Why mindset change is necessary? Today being the topic of design, let me talk about something which is quite interesting. When you design a product or a service, one is it has to be functionally good. In the sense, functionally it has to meet the need, whatever be the need. Need could be picking up water. It could be a bucket, for example, for picking up water. It could be to write a message to somebody. It could be a messaging app, or could be a email client, or an email program, or an email platform. Could be to reach a destination. Then the product could be a scooter or a two-wheeler or a car, or a public transport system, whatever be the product or the service that you're offering, it's important to ensure that the functionality is met. There is no doubt at all in that. That's something which is quite well ingrained in all of us. Our mindset has no problem with that. Where the challenge comes is a different aspect to it. So whenever a product or service is designed, there are four more aspects which are equally important, which is the symbolic appeal, social appeal, emotional appeal, and these are something which are extremely necessary to ensure that the product or service succeeds. A symbolic appeal is something which would be relating it to some symbolic event or some symbolic life experience. That is as far as the symbolic appeal is concerned. Social appeal is to really look at how the entire product and service which you have developed would be creating a social impact, and that's the social appeal. Then you talk about the emotional appeal, is about what kind of emotions would you generate when somebody is using that particular product or service. Example could be very simple. Let's say you are taking a public transport. In Bangalore, we have Volvo buses, which are air-conditioned buses, or you have the normal Ashok Leyland or Tata buses, which are not air-conditioned. Of course, Tata and Ashok Leyland also do manufacture air-conditioned buses, but then most of the buses which are air conditioned are Volvo in Bangalore. So they are called as the Volvo buses. So if you get into a Volvo bus, the emotional experience you have is a totally different thing than compared to getting into a normal BMTC, Ashok Leyland or a Tata Motors bus with windows open and all dirt and dust coming from everywhere. Of course, now dirt and dust is quite less because of the COVID pandemic. Number of vehicles on road are less, but still, it's a different experience altogether. That's the emotional appeal. And finally, the fourth one, which is a functional appeal, to really see how easily is the function met and what kind of an experience will the customer have. When I say appeal, it's about the experience. It's about the kind of enlightenment or a kind of happiness or sorrow or some kind of a sentiment which the customer has while using that particular product or service. These are the appeals, and it's important that these appeals also are looked into. But many a time when we design a product or a service, these four appeals, which is the functional appeal, symbolic appeal, social appeal, and emotional appeal, are not that much concentrated on. So therefore, the product gets designed mainly for ensuring the function. And when you look at only the function, then you are not really looking at the other paraphernalia which is required for the product or service for a service to succeed. So therefore, many a times it will have huge challenge in terms of getting the product to be used by a lot of customers. That's something which is something which one needs to keep in mind. And why does one not look at those things? Again, because of what? Mindset. And the mindset doesn't drive us to do all those things. We say that, look, we have put in so much amount of effort in designing a product or a service. So why the hell should we look at social appeal, symbolic appeal, functional appeal, and all emotional appeal? Why do you think we should look at what the customer feels? We have done the product. It's our product, our invention, our IP. So it should bloody well be accepted by the customer, which is not the case at all. So that's something which one needs to keep in mind when designing a product or a service, which is extremely important for success. Again, when you look at designing a product or a service, I remember one of my seniors, kind of a mentor. He was the plant head of one of the large factories in Germany, and he used to say that, look, Dinakar, R&D is not difficult at all. To really make a functional product, to make a functional POC, it's not that difficult. It's very easy. Whereas to make sure that the product which is functionally working is also producible or manufacturable, deliverable, serviceable, and that's the key, and that's where engineering comes into picture, which is very true. And many a time we forget this. We just make sure that the product is functionally working and then expect all the other things will fall in place, which doesn't happen at all. And that's again because of mindset, a very simple phenomenon. There is no magic in that because our upbringing has been like that. In societies where the focus is on the end result, the focus is on the outcome, there these gaps in the mindset are far lesser than in societies where the focus is only on proving a concept. Moment you proved a concept, you got a pat on your back and everybody praised, and that's the end of it. Whereas in societies where that is not the case, where just proving the concept will not really get you a pat on the back, you get a pat on the back only If the product is used by a lot of customers, then the mindset also would get aligned to that kind of a situation, so that these gaps which I spoke about would not exist in the designing of the product and service. So having spoken about that, let me now jump into the daily review, which you would have done today, I'm sure. I just recap that because that's something which is extremely important. We have some idea, and after the idea, it has to be implemented. So I spend a very less time in talking about the ideas. Ideas come very easily. It's not difficult at all. In fact, any experienced professional would be able to get an idea. I remember interview which I had when I was a trainee in Bosch. I was the one of the best trainees in Bosch in terms of what should I say, popularity, and therefore they selected me to be interviewed by trainee who came, I think, from XLRI Jamshedpur, and he was doing a project on project on the learning curve or something like that. And this lady interviewed quite a few people, and I was one of them, a handful of them. I remember telling her that, look, as when I started my activity, I would get a lot of ideas. But as I became more and more experienced, I would get fewer ideas, but the fewer ideas would be the workable ideas. If I got 100 ideas when I started, I would have possibly 10 workable ideas. Later, it became 20, and later it became 5. And at some point of time, after 35 years of my career, possibly I get only 1 or 2 ideas, which are the ones which are workable. I don't get the other ideas at all. And that's because the mindset is understood, or my subconscious is understood, but that all the other ideas which I used to get earlier are of no sense at all. And my experience with those ideas were not positive. Therefore, the subconscious filters it out and provides me only with those which are workable. And that's something which is quite interesting to note. I'm sure each one of you would have experienced that also. I'm trying to tell something which is rock bottom basics, but then that is necessary. Why do I explain that? Because in any activity, inspiration or the ideation is only 1% and execution is 99%. That's the tougher part. And the execution part is directly linked with daily reviews, directly linked with constant monitoring, constant checking what the progress is, and to ensure that that gets completed. That's the reason why I speak about daily review every day. So we start with the scoreboard, which should be in such a way that some people can, anybody can perceive it just like that in an instant. Otherwise, the scoreboard will not really make much sense. And scoreboard should contain information on various topics, which could be innovation and improvements, productivity, quality, cost, delivery, response, time involved in any activity, safety, which is extremely important, and finally, most important, is the morale of the people. All these topics need to be covered in the scoreboard in a company. And once you have a scoreboard, just look at the scoreboard, find out where do you stand, and everybody gets the idea. And once the scoreboard is available, then we get to the next topic, which is to discuss about the successes and failures of yesterday, and what can we learn from that. That each person would talk about what was the learning, and not just what the learning was, but talk about what is he or she going to do differently to incorporate that learning. Typically, it could be a kind of a routine which one wants to practice or start because of the new learning. And the difference is important than the learning per se, because learning is something which we identify and then forget it very fast. It's quite common. It's not in the conscious mind. Subconsciously, it's remembered 100%, but consciously we forget it. To make it more internalized, it's important that we create a habit, change the habit. And again, you can't really wipe out the old habit and create a new habit. It doesn't work. You need to really ensure that the new habits are formed and they're practiced more consistently, so that the old habits get overwritten. There's no concept of deleting a habit. It doesn't exist at all, because the subconscious doesn't have a possibility of picking and choosing and deleting whatever you want. Of course, there are some methodologies which people prescribe. I would not recommend any of those things. But anyway, I mentioned that since I spoke about this topic. There is a cult called as Scientology. I don't know whether you heard of that. Dianetics is the other word for that. There are a lot of people who follow this. In Scientology, they believe that there are what are called as engrams. These are the emotional experiences we have had in the past, which are staying there somewhere in the memory. And there are processes where you get the individual hypnotized to go back and then try to erase that memory. One side, you say that some people have had success, and there are a lot of people who have really gone mad by doing that, because you're trying to meddle into something which is so humongous, which is quite dangerous. So I would not recommend to do that. The other one is NLP. In NLP, you don't do it in a way where you are trying to hypnotize yourself or whatever. It's basically to look back at a memory which was not so positive and then try to minimize it. You do that by doing a visualization of trying to minimize that memory, and then try to maximize those memories which were supportive of your success. And that's the way the NLP works, neuro linguistic programming. Again, I'm not an expert in any of these things. I just read quite a few books and experimented on myself. That's the expertise I have got, which many may not have. But I'm not really a expert to really preach about NLP. But that's a brief understanding which I have of trying to magnify those which are comfortable, which have been positive, and diminish those which are not that supportive of our success and our habits. So that's the main topic in terms of trying to understand and learn. It's important that we create a new habit. And to create a new habit, it's important that we talk about what are we going to do differently. So when this topic of learning from yesterday's successes and failure comes up, please ensure that people are talking about what they're going to do differently and not explain their learning. That doesn't really interest anybody. The next one, because that's something which you know already, the person realized that. That's good. And the next one is talking about the rolling plan, a 5-day horizon: yesterday, today, tomorrow, day after, and the day after. I won't go into the depth today. I've been talking about that regularly. Then you talk about the deviations which occurred in the day yesterday, whether these deviations had any problem, whether it could cause any harm to the outcome. If yes, only do containment action. Don't get into the root cause, because you won't have time for that. Daily meeting can only last for about 10 to 15 minutes, because people need to get a quick recap, quick alignment, a quick update on what's happening and what we're going to do, and then move out to start doing the regular jobs. And after that, ensure that the teamwork works smoothly. When I say teamwork works smoothly, it's important that you ensure that there are conflicts. Teams have to have conflicts, and these conflicts are always productive. That means if I am trying to do my best in my role, and the other colleague also is trying to do his best in his role, and these two trying to get a conflict is quite natural, and that conflict is positive. Such conflicts are welcome, and then use these conflicts in a way that you can get a better outcome for both of us. And that's what conflict resolution is all about. You can write to me at dinakar@samuthána.com. I would definitely explain how you could use conflicts to leverage conflicts to really get better bonding and better trust. There's a methodology which is called as the conflict cloud, which is part of the theory of constraints. I can explain that. It's quite interesting, quite easy, and quite logical. I'm sure you can get the hang of it. It's not difficult at all. So conflicts are important, but there are conflicts which are quite dangerous. Today morning I had a experience like that. With one of our clients, one of my colleagues suggested that they have now put a WhatsApp group where each one is going to sort out and then fight it out in the WhatsApp group. I said, it's a very disastrous thing. You cannot allow such fighting and infighting happen in the organization in a WhatsApp group. That's the worst that can happen, because by doing that, you are going to encourage unhealthy conflicts which will improve nothing and really create a huge gap and distancing when it comes to trust and relationships. And please don't encourage that. WhatsApp conversations are not nice in terms of resolving the conflict. Each one is trying to put his point forth. If such a situation is there, have a meeting with 3 of them or 2 of them, and then sort it out then and there itself, very, very quickly. That's the next topic in the daily agenda. Then comes to celebrate and recognize some small success. This is extremely important, because you need to really be pumping up the team for getting the best out of their day, and that's something absolutely necessary. Therefore, pumping up is extremely important, and this one is the most important topic of the agenda, to ensure that you recognize and celebrate some small success, some small improvement which was done. And after that, the last topic would be to decide on escalations and in consensus. Decide in consensus on escalations. Escalations could be reporting to the top management on something, or the higher ups on something. Just information could be heads up, which is to give an advance information, could be to give a request for an approval, which is required for you to continue your operations, continue your day-to-day work, or it could be to seek support. Let us say there are situations where you don't have information or you don't know what to do, then you can seek support. 3 conditions are there where you would not know what to do. One is when a particular problem is known, but you don't know how to solve the problem. Second is when a problem is known, the solution is known, but nobody is interested in implementing that solution. And the third is You have a problem, solution is known, you have defined somebody has to do the solution, but the solution is not implemented on time, it is getting delayed. These are the three areas where you can ask for support, and that's the part of escalation. Please do that in consensus. And once you have done that, you end the daily meeting, 15 minutes, and after that, get back to your routines. That's what you do on a daily basis. And on a weekly basis, today I spoke briefly about the design. You would look at the deviations which occurred the previous week and what would be the importance there. Find out the top ones, only address the topmost ones, because Pareto rule applies everywhere, 80-20. So only address the topmost ones, and the others will get sorted out on their own. And there, try to find out what the root cause is, plan a corrective and a preventive action, and ensure that you maintain an OPL, or open point list, for monitoring all these actions, that they are completed. And the effectiveness of the action also is proved by validating the outcomes or the desired outcomes. And finally, when it comes to the weekly sharpening, it's important that you also check and confirm the contingency buffer. That means I was telling that if your objective is to achieve 10, you need to have a plan to achieve 12. Only then can you achieve 10. That's a fundamental principle. I don't want to go into the depth. It's quite the same which I've been telling all these days, and I'll repeat it one of these days in the coming week. And with that, I would very briefly mention the 3 topics for this week as part of my quarterly business plan. One is business health check. 2 is to check out your employee satisfaction, do a survey. Then do a survey on society satisfaction. What is the society? How is the society satisfied with your being present in the society and doing a business? And what are their expectations? These 2 are something very important. With that, I come to the end of today's live session. Thanks a lot for watching. And if you have any feedback, any comment, any suggestion, please do write to me, dinakar@samuthána.com, or post it in the YouTube comments area. I can definitely look into it and work on that. And for those of you in India, have a nice evening. For those of you outside India, have a great day ahead. Before I go, don't forget to do that baby step exercise of talking to your neighbors, friends, relatives, or colleagues on their perceptions of people-to-people interactions and what you believe or assume their perceptions would be, and find out the commonalities and the differences to develop and start a dialogue to develop a common collective mindset. Thanks a lot. Goodbye. See you tomorrow, same time. Bye-bye.